serious fishermen as well as the novice looking for tips from the pros. Shake, Rattle, and Troll, brought to you by Bill Luke Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram. I-17 and Camelback Road since 1927.
Yeah, we got the power, we got the speed. We're running wide open on a midsummer breeze. Freshwater, saltwater, watch out, boys. Bass Daddy Don's gonna make some noise. It's me and the boys gonna shake, rattle, and...
Now, here's your host, saltwater fisherman, the man that fears no fish, Bass Daddy and Tournament Pro, Don McDowell.
Yeah, man. Hey, I'm Don McDowell. Welcome to a special edition of Shake, Rattle, and Troll today. In the house with me with his homework, John Colazar Jr., president of the ADA and known as Special K.
Morning, Bass Daddy.
Good morning. You got a lot of homework to do.
I don't even want to begin to think how many hours that's going to take to do.
We'll talk about that. We've got a couple of special guests. One of them extremely special. Dean Cruiser's in the house.
I'm here today.
You know, God love you. Thanks for coming down. We're going to talk about some of the escapades Dean has and a guy that hasn't been here for a long time, Ron Kirsten.
Good morning.
I appreciate you coming down. Now, who picked up who this morning?
I picked Ron up today, and normally I'm usually punctual on time, and today I showed up early. And
yeah, you're way early today.
But when I pulled up in front of his house, he was already standing outside smoking a cigarette, drinking coffee, watching his clock, telling me we were going to be late.
Don't want to be late down here.
Definitely not.
Well,
definitely not.
You know, we've got an awful lot of stuff to cover. We're going to cover some of the HPC stuff that's coming up for 2015. You just made a trip to the Bassmaster Team Championship.
That was a great experience.
With a bunch of other guys.
Absolutely.
And, Ron, I understand. Today you're gonna kind of go down the road, the importance of taking all of your fishing rods and your tackle to the lake on a fishing derby day. Is that where we're going?
That would be a necessity, yes.
It would. Okay, well.
Is that like going hunting without a rifle?
Pretty much.
You're pretty much on the same page there.
Or when you get there, you go, damn, I don't have any bullets.
or getting there without my bow, or the arrows, or the quiver.
Yeah, I think you're tracking on it.
Yeah, you did that, Ron?
Well, actually, I'm kind of old and senile, so I don't remember that.
He was all giddy because he thought he was going to win.
Really?
Well, that would have been a great deal, if I could have borrowed tackle from people and end up doing good.
Well, we're talking about Apache Lake here. You know what? And don't feel bad because is that something we all do at one point or another?
I was at the U.S. Open. I left all my rods and reels in the trailer one year. I just had to borrow a handful at the boat ramp, so I'm right there with them.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm not tracking on that at all. No. Never left home without my bow if I'm going on an elk hunt or a deer hunt.
I had to stick up for my buddy.
We all do it.
I fish with two different partners, and I fish out of their boats.
Oh, okay.
And so when I get home, I take all my tackle, and I just take it in the house. And because I always prep the Friday night before, and this time my partner couldn't make it, and so I had to take my boat, and I didn't have any tackle in it.
The key to it, when you take it in the house, just leave it on the kitchen counter.
Right.
That's called marital bliss, right? Nah, not happening.
Yeah, but leave that one alone.
You better.
Not going there.
Well, you had a trolling motor problem too, didn't you? On top of that, okay. So you borrowed some gear and you got a little of this and a little of that, and then on top of that, you don't have a partner.
Yeah,
and then the trolling motor worked.
The trolling motor broke, and I was pretty much done. So I was pretty disappointed.
He had great technical support. We stopped by a few times and yelled quite loudly at him to see if everything was okay.
Yeah. Do you need a paddle?
That's kind of point and laugh.
Well, a little bit more than that.
It's just one of those things, happens.
For years and years and years, we had the Ring of Fire, and I don't think
fell into a ring of fire.
We've had that since you were here last. So,
thank you for the memory.
I just love it.
And the
higher, and it burns, burns, burns. The ring of fire.
It's hard to beat.
You know,
Johnny Cash.
the only thing that I found that'll help put the fire of the ring of fire out is Boudreaux's butt paste.
Boudreaux's.
Yep, absolutely available at CVS and fine pharmacies throughout the country.
That reminds me of Bubba's Barbecue.
It does. You know what? Boy, this is going back a while. Okay, Gene, let's move forward.
Okay.
This team championship it's kind of a new deal. Who all went back from Arizona?
Boy, excuse me if I believe Dave Davis. I think I got his name. I hope I did. That was Scott Owens' partner.
Scott Owens, yeah. Davis and Owens were fishing
Okay,
together.
there you go. I did get that correct. Lyle Dalby and Jeff Mason.
Right.
Then there was Forrest Webb and
They called me Forrest.
Chad Harvey.
Forrest Webb.
Yep, Chad Harvey. And then, of course, John Griffin and John Stewart and Steve Serdinsky and myself.
You and Steve. No, we're actually. What did you have to do to get there?
There was, across the United States, there was 8,600 and some teams, so 17,600 anglers, and they were all bidding for a spot, the Bassmaster Team Championship. It's their first year, and what they did was they took first, second, and third place from some regions. Some place they only took first place, depending on how the tournament director set it up, whether it wanted to be a fish-off or a point system through the year. Steve and I, we actually snuck in. I think we were one of the last teams to be able to go. We finished third place in the championship, and they took first and second. And at that time, Clay Lippincott from Total Bass Addicts told us they might be taking an alternate third, and I said, absolutely. And then we got the call, and away we went. And I'll tell you what, gentlemen and ladies, what an experience. You need to look into this because it is just going to get bigger, and it's going to be harder to get into, and I'll get into the experience as Don goes along with this.
Oh man, fishing outside Arizona, as we've learned, what an awesome experience.
Unfortunately, Arizona does not have the support that the rest of the United States does with fishing. When you pull into a town, the doormats, the welcome mats are wide open. Strangers will go out of their way to help you, do everything you can. It's just unbelievable. Rangers, park rangers, game and fish, Forest Service, police officers, law enforcement. It's unbelievable, the welcome that you get.
Yeah, I think one of the best places that we fished Special K was Shreveport.
Louisiana.
Louisiana folks. Louisiana, Alabama, Arkansas, Kentucky. Fishing Kentucky Lake. Man.
North Carolina. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I can't even stress it. I mean, I can sit here and tell you guys, until you experience it, you will not understand what I'm talking about.
No, in the local culture changes. You mentioned North Carolina. You don't want to go to North Carolina and be driving a Dodge or a Ram and tell the guy there at the ramp that Jeff Gordon sucks.
No, no.
I did in it. There was a run for the border. Well, those guys take their bass fishing and NASCAR. Those two things especially serious, and some of the other things. I think it was Lake Norman.
That's I believe North Carolina.
Yeah. I'm thinking Lake Norman. I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but. We're kind of doing some pre-fishing, and they're big on stripers and crappie. I mean, 10 times, 1,000 times more than we are here. And you fish a guy's dock, and that's a crappie hole. He's going to tell you one time to move, and after that you'll hear random gunfire. I'm serious.
Or the water hose comes out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Nothing like Southern hospitality.
It is. Well, what year was the Bassmaster Classic there? And there was gunfire on Ricky Clunn and the ESPN camera boat, and yeah, it's all good stuff. How many days did you actually compete?
We compete. It was a 4-day competition. Unfortunately, 4 out of the 5 teams from Arizona, we all did quite well, but 4 of us got to compete 2 days, and then John Stewart and John Griffin, known as Scooter, they got to make it into the final 2 days, and they did very well. I believe Scooter got second, and John
What lake were you fishing?
That was DeGray,
Yeah.
and that's in Arkansas, maybe, I believe, 50 miles, maybe a little southwest of Hot Springs.
Nice.
Yeah, it's an experience you just don't understand. I mean, it was kind of neat because Tanya, of course, my better half, Don's referring to all these lakes when the Women's Bassmaster Tour, of course, she fished that. So a lot of the same crew from Bass was operating this tournament. John Stewart, which was a helper, now he runs the whole program. So it was great to see old faces, and they recognized us and was wondering. I thought that was Cruiser, and I was wondering if that was Dean Staff. Like, well, I'm not the boat boy this time.
Yeah.
So there was two circuits that offer this, and that was All-Star and
All-Star and Total Bass Addicts in Arizona.
And what about this year?
That I don't know yet. I don't believe that anything has been announced.
I haven't seen anything myself.
What were you fishing yesterday?
Oh, I went up to Apache and fished a little derby.
Rods and reels involved?
I did not forget my tackle.
Your own stuff?
Yeah.
What a boost.
Actually, I brought the winning stuff.
It's a nice song.
All righty, we're going to flip into a break. Thanks some of our sponsors. Bill Chrysler Jeep and Dodge is not at I-17 in Bell Road. It is I-17 in West Camelback Road. I'm Don McDowell with
Special K.
And
Ron Kirsten.
And Dean Cruiser.
There you go. We'll be right back.
Rosanna's down in Texarkana wanted me to put it into town. I was in need for a new alarm clock, and a rooster finally hit the ground. Just the other day, I had nothing to do, so I kicked back on the cabin's front porch and bottomed out my homemade fruit. Yeah, in Kentucky, I'm doing fine.
All righty, we're back. What was the deal yesterday? Whose fishing derby was that?
Just a bunch of friends who got together, 7 boats, and go out and have a little derby, enjoy the day.
Well, Dean and I were talking yesterday that's kind of what we do. We have kind of a standing deal. I don't care who wins the tournament. All we got to do is beat Kirsten.
That's exactly what it is.
That's it.
Well, you couldn't have done it yesterday.
No, we could have. We weren't there, doubtfully.
Well, yeah.
But
I mean, just because we weren't there categorically is not a win for you.
And he also brings in
is.
Victor Cunningham, which is awesome
really?
on Apache Lake. So, and I believe Ron was in the back of the boat. So Victor was running the show, and it's no surprise that they won.
Well, I can't argue
speechless.
that point, but I do catch the fish.
Oh.
The I word.
The I word.
Yeah.
But
T-E-A-I-M. Team. Okay, I got it.
Vic did a good job of netting them.
You got to have a good netter. I mean, that's
It's very, very important. The last tournament on the Apache, the same day that I forgot my tackle and I had a fish by myself. My trolling motor broke. I lost 2 3-pounders right beside the boat. I was by myself. The good Lord was with me, but
hey, man,
he was looking the other way when I had the net in one hand and the fish. I lost 2 3-pounders back to back right beside the boat with the net in one hand and the rod in the other, and that's the way my day went.
I always want to have a tournament. Everybody throw their fish away and just come down and write down what they lost for the day.
Absolutely.
Actually seen who won, and I think we'd be quite surprised on the weights that would come in.
Shattenberg every time. It was an 8.
We would definitely know who the better fisherman was.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I'm glad to hear those were only 3-pounders, because usually, no kidding, I can't tell you how many times we've heard, well, I snapped off an 8 right at the boat.
It usually goes 8.34. I mean, it gets a little bit more into detail than that, and he's a good buddy of ours.
It was a 3-fish derby, and I was fortunate enough to put a 6, a 5, and a 4 in a boat.
Wow.
Since Ron was so fortunate in controlling the whole tournament, obviously, I'm trying to give Vic credit because I know what kind of fisherman Vic is. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your dead sticking technique?
Well,
dragging worms again? This guy will drag a worm from daylight till dark.
And explain what
The same worm.
to the listeners what dead sticking actually means, Ron. I think they'd be quite surprised to learn this technique.
I really don't know what you're talking about. I just chunk and whine. Maybe at a slower pace than most people, but
You think?
There's more BS floating in this room right now than I've heard in a long, long time, guys.
Actually, what happened was it was quite windy, and what I gathered from it is Ron's getting a little older, so his eyes aren't as work as well as they did. And on the first cast of the day, cast it into the wind, and a bird nest is when the line comes out faster than the bait, and it bird nest and tangled up. And he asked Victor, he said, "Victor, can you please help me? I don't have my glasses." And so Victor,
Forgot your glasses?
since Ron's not going to tell it, I'm going to have to tell what I remember. And Victor picked it out and everything and lifted up and said, "Ron, I don't know if you know this or not, but there's a fish on here," and handed it back to Ron. And that didn't only work one time. It worked 2 times in a row from what I gathered. Is that true, Ron?
well, basically no. You were telling the story correctly up to the point that yes, I was casting against the wind. The bait I was using is not a very good bait to cast against the wind, and yes, I backlashed, and by the time I dug that backlash out and I got the reeling in my line, there was a 6-pounder on the end of it. And,
Well, no, he did it again.
Now, hold on. You said some of that. That's what Dean just said. Now, what part about?
Well, I left
Dean's version
I let
is-
the Vic part out of Vic was just standing up there saying, "Go, Ron, go."
Oh, got it.
Here we go.
Okay.
The I word, another version for I.
Yeah.
And so we
have our own ISIS here.
we landed that fish. And I told Vic, this is a very specific spot that you have to throw to. And I told Vic that, and unfortunately he was out of position, and I threw over there, and once again I backlashed, and by the time I got that backlash out and picked my rod up, I had a 5-pounder. Now that is dead sticking.
Without a doubt.
And, just proceeded to get better. If I get a backlash.
Yeah, the more backlash you get,
fish.
bigger the fish.
I have a spot that's, I caught 2 10-pounders off of back-to-back. And
When?
back in September before the season started.
Wow. Okay.
And, it's an area that
Oh,
holds.
just tell him it's a rock outcropping in probably about 12 feet of water, and it's got a drop off on it. I mean, what? It's
Right
a
off
big
the main
secret
lake.
on the main lake. There you go.
Bingo.
Well, I mean, there's an area, it holds a lot of 3 and 4 pound fish, but there's one specific spot that seems to hold the bigger fish. And that's where I got the 6 and the 5, back to back.
Well, it's been a number of years since I fished with Sam Schattenberg, and I think next August the off limits finally is lifted and evaporates, so I can go back and fish Roosevelt.
Oh, that's correct. I understand where you're going with that one.
You get that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Well, you're fishing is the Monterey Seniors this year.
Yeah, I fished with Jimmy Dwight. Yep.
How's that going?
So far we've pretty much sucked. We've weighed fish, but not what we want to. Now I can't attest that we had 5, 3, 5, and 8 pounder snap off of the boat, because we didn't.
That's too bad.
We just weren't getting the bite.
You're not even a fisherman if you can't come up with a good story.
No, we can, but it's going to be at your expense.
The sorry fact of it is that, other than the local pros like Dean and, 90% of the fishermen don't ever collect a check. And that is the backbone of the fishing industry,
absolutely.
the 90% that are out there trying.
Yeah, it's like that old song Gary had, sometimes you win, but most days you lose.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Oh, Dean's,
I have that
over
CD.
the years, Dean's been pretty consistent. I don't know what you're whining about. You won a championship. When was that?
I was still young back then.
That's going back in the day, isn't it?
You're going back.
God, yeah.
Too far back.
How many years, just help me out here. How many years ago was that? I mean, in my mind, it seems like it was just not very long ago.
It was 10, 11 years.
Really?
Yeah. Been a while.
But he's back.
Well, I don't know. Have you seen him throwing spinner blades?
No.
No.
Have
You
I
won the
seen him throw
championship.
anything?
You
No.
need to. I'll go back and get the show that you were on right after you won that championship. You were throwing crankbaits and spinner baits.
Well, that was at Bartlett, and it was a different time. I was younger.
10 years ago. Yeah, right. Well, what are you telling me? You're too old to throw spinner baits now?
Well, no, I just lose patience real quick.
There's medication.
I'm addicted to the tick. I love fishing soft plastic.
Yeah, hold that thought. We'll be right back.
Scrub me down, dress me up, all but no matter what. Remember, I'm still a guy. Yep.
All right, we're back visiting with Dean and Ron Kirsten. Dean, I want to kind of transition away from dragging worms and see what you guys did. Now, DeGray Lakes, the water level wasn't way up.
No, it was down. I don't know. It might have been down, if I had to guess offhand, maybe 15 vertical feet.
Wow.
Maybe.
Pretty clear?
The lake is real clear. As we went up in one of the river arms, it turned very muddy. Where we were fishing, it about 1.5 foot visibility.
Yeah, that's one of the other things, JK, fishing back that way. There's usually a river involved.
I like those.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're just some awesome places to fish. But anyway, what was your pattern technique?
Well, what we did, backing up a little bit, the lake is so big, and there's 2 river arms, and then you have creek arms and the main body. Steve and I discussed it on the way because we only have 2 official days of practice, and you cannot cover the whole body of water. So what we like to do is we pick an area, and we live in there for the day. We picked the river the first day, and we got up, and electronics, you guys play such a key. I cannot stress electronics to people. They're on. Steve's running 312 HDs on his boat, and he's getting a 4th. And people say it's overkill. It's really not because of how you set them up. And we're flipping, pitching, spinnerbaiting, and coming down the bank, and then we hit a 35-foot pool of water.
What? You're not dragging worms?
No, not
or
dragging
grubs?
What we're doing is we're searching. We're trying to find some aggressive fish to tell us where we might be able to fish. And as we're coming down the bank went from a steep drop-off to just like a beach, I guess, in layman terms. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it dropped to 35 feet, and there was a rock ledge. A rock ledge is basically a cliff underwater. And that ran out into the middle of the river for probably about 30 yards. Nobody fished it. And we pulled up and backed off on it. We made 3 casts and caught 2 overs. There's a slot limit, so 2 largemouth over the 16 inches, and then and missed 1 bite. So we left, and we said, okay. Then we spent the rest of the day searching for duplicating that. We could not find anything else.
What
the first
flavor
day.
bass were these? Northerns, Florida?
They have the spotted bass and then the smallmouth and the largemouth.
That's just a mean fish anyway.
It's a smallmouth on steroids. When you catch a spotted bass, when you hold them, you can feel and visually see their heart beating through the side of them.
They get all upset when they get stuck.
Yeah,
they do.
And then what we did, Don, so that was the first day. And then the second day, we decided we'd stay on the main lake and search for stuff. And we found, the schooling fish that are there one day, they're the not. So, we didn't focus on that. But we did find one area where we could drop shot spotted bass. Yeah, and it wasn't the funnest thing to do. But as you guys know, I'm not real good on not real good, but I just don't like the fairy wand, the drop shot.
Thank you. Yeah.
And so we went into the tournament with 2 spots that we knew we could catch fish. The other, I don't know, 14 or 15 hours of fishing, we had nothing other than watching a lot of the other anglers just go from point A to point B down the bank, and that is a lottery.
Yeah, that kind of sucked back there. There was no Judy Cheney to follow around.
Right. Well, there we go. That's a whole nother day there.
Bingo.
So, So,
So we picked on a lot of people so far. Who do we miss?
boy, there's a lot.
Oh, man. List is
back.
long, J.K., and not necessarily distinguished.
That was the key, not distinguished.
Well, what happened to your partner on day one?
Well, what happened on day one, it couldn't have worked out any better. As it started, we were in the last flight, and the only chance we had was the 2 spots. So we ran up into the river, and nobody was on it. So then
How many boats in a flight?
I believe there was 30.
Yeah, wow.
So they flipped the numbers the next day. So the next day I'm going to be I was by myself though. We were going to be in the first flight. So then we knew
If you're by yourself, then it's
right. Okay. We knew we'd be able to get there. And Steve started out throwing a DD-22, and I was throwing a biffle head, just basically like Ron, a tick bait, I guess. I've never heard that, but okay, a tick bait. And we started catching the fish. We ended up catching, I think it was 13 or 14 fish in the first hour. A lot of them were in the slot, and we had three over largemouth. So we looked at each other and said, if we can catch 2 more, we're just going to sit here and not fish, but just, pretend like we're fishing. And I think it was probably about, I don't know if it was somewhere around 9 o'clock. Steve, he had switched. He's fishing a jig now, and he set the hook, and he snapped his arm between his elbow and his shoulder. They described it as a spiral break. It started on the top of his, don't know the name of the bone, just the big bone between the elbow and the shoulder, and like you're splitting wood.
The upper arm bone.
The upper arm bone connected to the shoulder bone.
There you go. Yeah.
But like you're splitting a piece of wood, and it cracked, spiral cracked 8 inches down. So
By setting a hook.
Yeah, he has some health problems.
Okay.
So this has happened before in the past doing other things, and the guy never uttered a sound. He just fell to his knees, and I knew because we've been friends and kind of witnessed this before, and it ended up being a 4.5 to 5 pound walleye. And he kind of makes the comment as he's kneeling down, "You're kidding me, right?"
Nice.
You're being not even a bass, but. So I offered to take him in, call the paramedics, and of course Steve's saying, no, they're not doing anything here. We'll wait till we get back to Arizona. So we took a life jacket, and we held his arm up and then put the life jacket real tight to hold his arm up in a position. And he took a few Advil, and he made me stay. And after about an hour, he says, okay, I think I can fish. And I said, you're kidding me. So he goes, no, give me my drop shot rod. And he ended up catching a keeper spot, drop shotting with one arm. So we go in, and we're sitting pretty good. We're 9th place after day one, and
I don't even know what to say about that.
I don't either.
How can you respond to that?
They had the paramedics there. They put him in a sling, and then of course I'm ready to take him to the airport, fly him home, take him to the hospital. Of course you get "don't be ridiculous" out of him. He goes, "I'll wait till I get back home and let my surgeon take care of me." So then,
life jacket and some duct tape. Let's go.
That's what we had. Red duct tape. Yeah. So,
I could see you guys.
They were. I had asked if I go out by myself if I get DQ'd, because you have to be with your other angler, your team partner, and John Stewart. They were on the phone with Birmingham, Alabama, calling bass, and they said no, you because it's a safety issue. Because Steve said, well, if you can't fish by yourself, we're duct taping it up just like you said, and I'm going out. And they didn't want him in the boat, so of course, there's a lie detector test to be given, and they said, you may fish by yourself, and you're going to have to take a polygraph. And I went back to that spot, and the fish, from being back east, if you found that spot out here, I knew I was going to the Classic.
Yep.
We had discussed it. We thought I could make it into the last day, and they had moved, and we had 2 spots, and I did everything I knew, no regrets, no sorrows, just did the best I could, and came in with 2 spots that day and dropped to 30th place. And then hats off to John Stewart and Scooter for their very strong finish.
Let me put this in perspective. Dean's, in my mind, is probably one of the best jig fishermen that's come out of the state of Arizona. What were you fishing with?
Basically a jig. It's a biffle head. It's got the lead head that's attached to a hook with a swivel, so it gives a little bit more movement. Yeah. And then I threw the sink at them. I threw spinner baits, deep spinner baits, chatter baits, crank baits, dig crank baits, Carolina rig. I backed off and went all the way across the channel, so when boats came up, they had to shut down, which I didn't mind them going by fast, but they didn't know what I was sitting and fishing. and I'd wave them by, and I'm fishing. I'm sitting in 6 feet of water, casting across 35, doing everything. I worked that area because I had nowhere else to go. I did not know where to go catch fish on this lake, other than going from point A to point B down the bank. This was not a tournament to try to come in 10th place and get a pat on the back and say, no. I got a check. This was top 3 or nothing.
Well, this whole deal was spots for the Classic.
Absolutely.
And if I'm getting my facts correct, wasn't there 2 more tournaments after this to actually get to the Classic?
No, the winner actually they pulled home a $88,000 skeeter with a 250 on it and fully rigged up and is in the Classic.
Game over.
Game over. Congratulations to the winner.
All from doing well in a local circuit.
Yeah, good stuff, man.
I just hope I get the opportunity because it's tough. It's only going to be tougher to qualify, and I hope I get the opportunity to go back again. It's just even though you come back and you didn't make it, it's just unbelievable for an experience. This is,
I think that's where Boyd Duckett came from.
Yeah, it's just
he made it off of the Open and some of the other things, got a seat in it, and it just came out of nowhere to win the Classic.
Right.
Like, who the hell is this guy?
He's
just a bass club guy.
He makes a good rod.
Yeah, good stuff. All righty, we're going to stand down. Normally in the next session we have roll call. I'm happy to report we don't have any KIA soldiers that we're aware of this
Amen.
week, so that's good news. I am Don McDowell with
Special K,
Ron Kirsten,
Dean Cruiser.
Glad you guys are here.
Catch us if you can. Catch us if you can. Catch us if you can. Catch us if you can.
Yeah, that's what that old bass says. Catch me if you can, dude. Yeah. It's all good. Dean, how'd some of our other Arizona anglers do?
We bunched up pretty good. Obviously, John Stewart and Scooter finished the team tournament after the 2 days in 3rd place. Let's see. Chad Harvey, Forrest Webb finished in 29th. Steve and I finished in 30th. Lyle Dalby, Jeff Mason finished 31st. And Scott Owens and Davis, they finished a little bit lower.
Was there any sharing of information amongst the group?
It is. This is the frustrating part. When you leave the state, and Zerninski, he called it. He goes, "You watch. Everybody's going to be friendly.
They won't even know you by the time you get to Texas."
No, he said, "You watch. Everybody's going to be friendly and everything else." And sure enough, and the friendship that developed between the 5 teams, I hope continues, and it's sincere because it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And if we could do more of that back here and the respect factor and everything, it was great all the way around. So hopefully even out of the deal, we got some stronger friendships developed.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like being in, another country when you're going back to fish and, on somebody else's home lake. Was there any anglers there that had an advantage of knowing that lake?
Don, I'm sure there is on any body of water, just like Ron. He's Mr. Apache now all of a sudden, so it's going to be hard to beat him there.
What happened to Bartlett?
Well, but of
what
course
happened to Bartlett, Ronnie?
It's still there.
Okay.
You can't. You have to look past that. You can't cry. You can't say this guy here and everything else. Because I knew going into it driving. I said, Steve, brush piles are probably going to be a key factor.
Yeah, buddy.
And we discussed. That was one of the options we discussed. Just never fishing at all. We just discussed just driving around with the side imaging and just GPSing.
You only had 2 days of practice?
Yes, sir.
There was 1 day just running the lake.
Yeah, but we actually discussed it and we discussed it and said, no, let's go up in the river system and see. But we were actually going to just go mark every brush pile we could find and never fish it and then just run those through the tournament because you found out back when the girls were fishing how important brush piles are.
Important.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them even made their own.
Right. Yeah, and that's a thing you can do and add to them. And they add to them back there. A lot of the lakes back there, they don't have a problem with you freshening up brush piles.
Is there a lot of private homes and boat docks?
Not on this lake. There wasn't a lot of boat docks, but there were some homes that were off the lake, but not so much as most of the lakes back east and in the Midwest where the homes line the lakes.
It's a big thing in Texas.
Yeah.
Boat dogs.
Everything's a big thing in Texas.
Well, yeah.
A lot of things left back in Texas, too, I believe.
Yeah, buddy, you have any idea how many ex-wives per capita there is in Texas?
I bet there's quite a bit.
I wouldn't have a clue.
Really?
Really?
I think we probably ought not go down that road. Moving right along, what's the criteria for next year? I don't know if All-Star's going to do it.
All-Star's gone.
Well, yeah, I know they went to Yuma, but are they still a BASS sanctioned?
That I don't know, but Total Bass Addicts, I believe, are still on the list, and I believe that now this is just hypothetical, and I'm just speaking off the hip, but I believe they might be doing it on the night circuits that they have this summer coming up in April.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something you guys ought to look into because
you ever fish a night tournament?
Oh, yeah. Did it. As a matter of fact, there was one tournament that I actually won. It was in any fish. You could catch one fish of each species of fish to count for your max. And I wound up taking a boat that the motor died, so I had to row, and I rowed around the lake. It was a smaller lake, but I rowed around it and wound up catching a 36-inch gar pike with one of those long snout noses.
Nice.
Took care of business.
that would do it.
On a crankbait?
Yeah.
You can actually use a little piece of 2-inch nylon rope.
Yes, sir.
To no hooks needed.
Yep. Things you'll learn back each time. Yeah. There is a knack you can develop catching with a crankbait, but tears the hell out of your crankbaits.
Yeah, I can see where that would happen, and them gnarly teeth.
No, you couldn't, because you have to throw them first.
You got me all wrong. I mean, 90% of my fishing might be Texas rigged, but when I feel the need, I'll throw a crankbait or blade or whatever the situation dictates.
Next time you feel that need, take a roll aid. It will go away.
Like to have Victor here. You fished with him a few times. He could answer these questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Victor and Debbie are good friends of mine, and they're good sticks. And
what happened to Deb? She wasn't.
She had some, I don't know if it's carpal tunnel on her thumbs, but she had surgery on both her thumbs. And
really?
So, yeah.
Well, bless her heart.
So I kind of, and she usually catches the big fish out of the back of the boat. So
wow, he's unbelievable, Victor.
Like
I don't know
Victor
if I'd
right
ever fish with him again.
You have been keel-hauled.
Wow.
I just tried to fill Debbie's shoes. Victor was counting on me, so I.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
That slipped.
What kind of boats are you driving these days?
He has a Ranger. 21-foot Ranger.
There you go. And you're still running your Champion?
I'm still running my Champion.
What are you guys running?
I am in any boat that I can climb in with right now.
Attaboy.
In other words, he's a boat bum. But I'd be happy to have him in my boat anytime.
Sounds like there might be a T-shirt in that.
There you go.
Yeah, not really. Yeah, that's all good. What about NBC? Is he not trying to get a bass sanction?
I'm going to talk to Paul in a couple of weeks about this because
it's all about the numbers.
Yeah, he's drawn quite a few numbers, and that's something to look into. Hopefully I don't think he'll have a problem being sanctioned because of the numbers. It's just what he has to go through to do it.
I don't know what that qualification process is. Since Noreen Clow stepped down as National Conservation Director and Stewart took over, we used to get a little play with Stewart, but Gene Gilliland's taken the National Conservation seat, as it were, and most all the discussion that we have is heads down. We're really pushing and working on conservation real hard. Mike Hoffbarth from Goodyear Bass is... and we're working on, I think he's already submitted 2 grant requests. We've got a January 15th, I believe, deadline. I'll talk to him on Monday. But, on some other stuff for gizzard shad effects. We're still looking for fry stocking money for the Florida Spring Bass. We're up to, I think, $38,000 plus the matching funds. We're trying to get it up to $100,000. But some of the other stuff we need desperately is, as you guys know, habitat, brush piles, sticks, whatever, rocks, whatever. So.
Shake, Rattle, and Troll, brought to you by Bill Luke Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram. I-17 and Camelback Road since 1927.
Yeah, we got the power, we got the speed. We're running wide open on a midsummer breeze. Freshwater, saltwater, watch out, boys. Bass Daddy Don's gonna make some noise. It's me and the boys gonna shake, rattle, and...
Now, here's your host, saltwater fisherman, the man that fears no fish, Bass Daddy and Tournament Pro, Don McDowell.
Hey, thanks for joining the second hour of Shake, Rattle, and Troll. We've got Dean Cruiser here and Ron Kirsten and JK over here doing his homework. And if you just joined us, Dean and Steve Cherninsky just got back, well, and the other guys. How many teams total? Five? Five. We're back east fishing for a slot in the Bassmaster Classic. You know, I really wish you guys would have made it.
It would have been nice for someone from Arizona to go.
What a big deal. Yeah, well, absolutely. You know, from a personal level, you know, you've been out there slugging it out there for how many years now?
Counting all my donating days, a long time. I mean, I was a master donator. I donated every time I showed up at the lake for years.
Absolutely. How many $250 hot dogs have we eaten?
Quite a few.
Man. And you, how long have you been fishing tournaments?
Geez. A long time, and long enough to make the down payment on Dean's home.
Yeah, nice. That's all good stuff. I want to change gears a little bit. We've got some HPC projects. Give us a rundown on, first of all, what are the HPC projects and the importance of them?
Throughout the state of Arizona, mostly the rural communities, we have what are called Habitat Partnership Committees, therefore the HPCs. And what it is all of those people who live in those various communities come up with projects that will benefit wildlife and habitat. And the way that it's funded is through the big game super raffle and all the tags that we auction off. For instance, this year at our banquet, we auctioned off the mule deer tag as well as the whitetail, the coos deer tag, and the...
You're going to love what was brought in on there.
The mule deer tag went for $245,000 this year.
Bam.
Wow.
And the
These
whitetail...
are big numbers, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whitetail tag, I think, went for $35,000.
Uh-huh.
So, between all of the monies that we've raffled off, and you have the elk, sheep, antelope, all of those tags together, we come up with this year probably close to $2 million. And what we do is we take a look at all the projects. They're submitted through a process. They have to be submitted by September the 1st. We take a look at them in December when we get them. And then in January...
And that's coming down today.
That's coming down today. We're going to be meeting at the Bruns household.
How many projects are in your binder that we're going to be looking at?
I thought there was about 77, 78 projects that we have to look at and read through. So... Between all of them, the requests are usually for about $5 million worth of projects, so we have to really look at it carefully because we only have maybe $500,000 in the deer tags.
Anything in there for fish?
No. No.
This is where we're falling down right here.
The only problem, Don, is that if you look at fish, I mean, you can't give somebody the lake for a day, and you guys catch and release anyhow, But for us, it's a matter of that one opportunity to hunt, and that's what the auction tags and the raffle tags
that
are.
Just so matter-of-factly.
I know, yeah. It's okay. So casually.
It is what it is. I wish it was different. It's just it's a totally different world.
It is.
But we found that, I'm looking at the projects this morning already, and a lot of them are controlled burns. Rodeo Chetasky area where the burns did go through, back in 2002, those need to burn again.
Again, that seems like that was just yesterday.
I know, but I mean, it's a fact. Wildlife benefited tremendously after the fire, and now it's starting to overgrow again. PJ, pinyon juniper, they start to grow amazingly quickly, and they need to be burned out, or they need to be chained out, or they need to be agraxed out, anything you can do to get rid of them. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to look at the projects. There's going to be $2 million on the ground, and most of the urban people have no clue how much time and effort goes into preparing these projects. And if you look at it, most of it's on Forest Service land, so you have to have NEPA. All the NEPA work has to be done. You have to do the ARCI work. You have to have the ARCI oversight committees look at all of that.
Why don't you explain that? Ron's getting this kind of glazed.
NEPA is the National Environmental Protection Agency. And if there's any disturbances, that may be caused. It has to have a sign-off. You have to have a plan that goes in and says, okay, we're going to do this. It's not going to affect the environment in any way, shape, or form. So that has to happen. And unfortunately, the ARCI work is the troublesome one, because if you go anywhere out, along the rim country, that's historic range for the Anasazi as well as the Navajo and any of the other Indian tribes that were out there. If you're disturbing shard-based, or if there's potential pottery or artifacts, you have to actually circumvent those areas. You cannot go through and do anything.
This is part of the problem that we're having on Roosevelt with habitat, is the NEPA process and this and that. I think we've got, I'm going to say right off the top, about 10 different agencies that have their finger in it.
Absolutely.
In order to put a brush pile or an artificial habitat, we're looking at 18 months.
Yeah, and that's
process.
Absolutely absurd. I mean, it doesn't take. I can understand why there's regulations on it, because then everybody would be throwing Christmas trees, which are useless. They don't realize, and
they don't
trash
last that long.
and trash piles. But it isn't that hard if you could get through the red tape to do this, and for fishing it would be quite inexpensive to be able to do something.
You have no concept as to how much rage I have felt with Fish and Wildlife over the years and the Forest Service, because, and if you take a look at, just say, the National Forest System, they have their rangers, they have everybody who supposedly does their job. But we all know that, and you find out as time goes by, that 70% of their income occurs in a 3-month period during the fire season. Those guys are on call. They run all over the place. They do all kinds of things to put out the fires that, and this is fact, that the Forest Service themselves have created by neglect, by trying to protect the forests. What happened was they overgrew. If you can walk in an area and you've got 6 inches of duff underneath your feet, then that's prime time for something to burn. The older fires, when they burned prior to 1900, nobody could stop them. There was no way. But now we have the capacity to stop fires, and that's what they did. They overprotected the forests. They didn't do thinning. They got rid of all the logging industry. And so what happens? You wind up having forests that are way too mature, and when they burn, they don't burn, they incinerate. And that's the problem that we've faced for the last 3-4 fires that we've had. The Bear Wallow fire, the Rodeo Chetiskai, the Dude fire. All of those could have been prevented had there been some form of thinning that had gone on. So instead, they'll spend, $250 million on a big fire that they could have spent maybe $10 million on in thinning through all the time. But when you have all your manpower being designated for a 3-month period, the rest of the year there's nobody home to watch the shop.
Absolutely.
And that's where all the NEPA paperwork has to be done. Nobody likes to do that. And so consequently it gets on the back burner, and that's why it takes so long. Same thing goes on with you guys and your fish furniture.
Well, in our case, we've got some, I'm going to call them NGOs, albeit that's only a half-true. Salt River Project has got a big finger in the tonneau shed. And anything that goes in the water, they have to bless it.
You have way too many agencies looking at your projects.
Well, we do, and that's one of the issues on the Eagle closure, one of my favorite topics. There are, you're going to love this, there are 21 different agencies in jurisdiction on another non-governmental agency, the Southwest Bald Eagle Management Committee. And we've got, and my big rub on Lake Pleasant is we've got the White Mountain Apache Indians. We've got the Gila River guys. We've got Salt River Project, the Arizona National Guard, Luke Air Force Base, and others that are dictating what's going to happen on Lake Pleasant. Now, they don't have a finger in this economic footprint. And it's just... personally, I think that whole bunch needs to be disbanded or evaporated, and I don't know how that's going to happen.
It's not, Don, because it's with government issues, with anything. It's just, you hate to get into politics too deep on here, but there's nothing that can be done
Dean,
because it
fishing and I should have listened to Rich Jones going back into the late '90s. Rich was one of the best fishermen I've ever had the pleasure of fishing with. He's gone. He's out of it. And I asked him one day. I said, "Why don't you fish tournaments?" He says, "I don't like the politics." And as naive as I was, I said, "What do you mean politics? It's just a tournament." He goes, "You'll get it one day. That day has come a long time ago. I get it."
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that we're fighting right now, and my goals and my involvement is fighting the politics. We've got to flip into a break. We'll follow that up when we come back. I'm Don McDowell with
Dean Cruiser,
Ron Kirsten,
Project Boy.
Yeah, boy, HPC.
When I tell them that I ate it, it's a lie. I use them as an lazy yellow moon coming up tonight, shining through the trees. Crickets are singing and lightning bugs are floating on the breeze.
All righty, we're back. We kind of got sidetracked, Jake. I want to get back to the HPC, but Dean, one of the biggest things we're fighting right now as a nation is government overreach. Just in the issues contained in John's books there, we've got government overreach, and one of the things that's most appalling to me is Arizona's Game and Fish Department has mapped the state. Okay, we've broken down into hunt units and all this. We've got an external group, TRCP, coming in, want to remap what we already hold near and dear. BLM has got a 2.0 mapping project. We've got how many Forest Service? Six Magic Kingdoms all by themselves that have it mapped. And on top of those maps, we have new maps to show us where we're not going to go and what roads we're not going to use. And then on top of all of that, we've got EPA, one of the largest pieces of overreach that I've ever seen. They're mapping wetlands. Now, what? And I can't get a straight answer from anybody, and the request has gone clear to Dan Ash. And what is EPA doing mapping wetlands? I mean, it just goes SRP. Huge episode of overreach, dictating what we are and what we're not going to put in the water, including fish. They absolutely threw a fit when they found out that 400,000 sac fry were going in Roosevelt Lake. I mean, just pitched a fit. I don't believe that fit's over with at this point. We've got requests for additional stocking. We've got money. We've got bigger fish. This time we're not going to put the microscopic sac fry in. We're going for 2 to 3 inch fish, maybe larger if we can afford them. But the process and all the people that have a finger in the pie, during the break you mentioned the Army Corps of Engineers are involved, Bureau of Land Management, Department of the Interior, USDA. What the hell have they got in? What? I mean, trying to sit down and figure these little projects out. We've got a $5,000 grant request in for Shimano. We would like to put some mossback habitat into Roosevelt. We can't do that because SRP and others don't want it in the water. It's just like, are you kidding me?
SRP pretty much owns the lakes, don't they?
No, they don't. They control the use of the
water flow.
And I get their whole deal is they want to make sure that you have water for a hot shower and a bath and cooking and one thing and another. And I've lost my patience with them and suggested that maybe they get a campaign for those within that particular realm to shower with the neighbor's wife once a week to save a little extra water, and they didn't want to have a discussion with that. So
only you, Don. Only you.
I'm just saying.
We both know the issues that we face, but this is part of the process that we have to endure to go forward with it. If this same process had been in existence 150 years ago, there would be no development west of the Mississippi.
Well, you can take the overreach and apply it to that. I don't know if you guys are following the Mexican gray wolf issues here in Arizona.
A little bit, yeah.
We've got a major fight, and we've got overreach from private sector. John exposed the Sierra Club on the anatomy of deception, which was a good piece of work. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
I did research on Sandy Bar kept coming out with the Sierra Club and others every time there was a game and fish meeting. They were claiming that over 71% of the population of Arizona wanted to see wolves on the land. And so I did some research on it, and I went back and I found out where the survey came from. And the group that performed the survey is a Democratic Party
imagine that.
Polling organization. They're professionals. They're marketing campaigns for Democratic candidates, and they do all kinds of things like that. So I took a look at it, and all of the western states now have over 70% of people who wanted to have more wolves on the ground. And I started looking at, okay, how big was the survey? And then I read the survey questions. I got in and I found it. They interviewed 300 Arizonan people, 150 Democrats, 150 Republicans. They did not specify the demographics of where they were from. They did not specify anything about them, whether they were hunters or fishermen. And consequently, they had what I will call the pool of people that they really wanted to have to answer a survey. And the survey questions were so leading, you had to come up with a result. You know, he who phrases the question always wins the debate, which is what they did. So it was a joke of a survey when 300 people they present to the Game and Fish Department is a majority, 71% of Arizonans want to have wolves on the ground. 300 people out of what, 8 million, 7 million people we have.
And this is what the public hears.
Yeah,
Right.
But nobody questioned them. So I went in and I did the research, I found it, and I published it. And since that time, there's been the silence has been deafening on the part of Sandy Bar because the Game and Fish Commission laughed at her because they figured it out once I showed them the document. The legislature this year is going to be real interested to say, hey, Sandy, we found out that what you presented to us last year was bunk. So we'll see where it goes in the future.
Did you get a Christmas card from Sandy?
No, you know, I think I'm off her list. For someone, I don't understand why.
You know, the part I don't understand, the sportsmen, we're the reason there is wildlife the way it is for us to hunt, to see, take pictures, hike with.
That is a fact
It's-
that most people don't get.
No.
Conservation is a byproduct of hunting. and
Exactly,
fishing,
and
period.
I give to people that don't know, like you said, the city, I referred to as city people, which is fine. That's their world. Mine is the outdoors, and I have no problems with either. I used the Kaibab Plateau as an example way back when they had to go slaughter all the deer because there was no hunting up there, and they overabundant. And what they do, they ate themselves out of food, and then you literally had to take the trucks and kill every deer that they found to thin them out, and then they could be.
Were you aware that we recently have had some rogue timber wolves up there? Gray wolves?
No, I was not.
They had a Canadian wolf that appeared on the Kaibab.
I'll be darned. Well,
Yeah.
they're falling down the mountain range. All the way down.
Here's my key. That wolf made it all the way from either Montana or Idaho or Wyoming, made it all through Utah without being seen, and then showed up on the Kaibab Plateau right outside the campgrounds and posed for lots of pictures.
Oh, absolutely
Everybody
not.
saw it. It had a collar on it that was not functioning. And the Game and Fish commissioners were at a meeting up there with the Grand Canyon National Park supervisor, and it was by the side of the road, stood there for about 15 minutes while they all watched it. And
Stood
there. This is a wild wolf with a collar on it that made it all the way through Utah without being seen, and suddenly appears
in the
Arizona.
back of an F-250.
And then all of a sudden, now that's going to be the native range.
Well, what happens is it acquired endangered species as soon as it hit our border. Now, the surprising thing, too, is that nobody's seen that wolf in the last 2 weeks, but it had been hanging around the campgrounds. So who knows? Maybe it decided to take another trip. Maybe it's coming south. Who knows? Or maybe it's, maybe it went home.
Yeah, it's kind of like Bigfoot.
Nice.
Except they had photos, unfortunately, and these were legitimate, and everybody saw
We
it.
have photographs of Bigfoot.
It's a pretty big coincidence.
Yeah, coincidence.
All righty, when we come back, our master rod builder, James Guggenauer from Rim Country Custom Rods from downtown Payson, where the weather is absolutely frightful. We'll be back.
It just comes natural.
And now I've caught a big one, so forget that hourglass. If you just wait a minute, then we both can kiss my bass, kiss my bass.
There you go, Ron. Right there. It's all for you, buddy. Hey, it's James Guggenauer, man. What's happening, Brother James?
Hey, good morning, Don. How you doing today?
You know, we're blessed by, some dignitaries here. I drag a worm till the sun goes down. Kirsten and Dean Cruiser is here. He throws everything.
Hey, can I tell you my Dean Cruiser story?
Absolutely.
Please,
Well, maybe.
please.
Oh, boy, I hope it's a
Oh,
good
here
one.
we go.
Hi, Jim.
Good morning, Dean.
Don't
Hey,
start sucking up yet, Dean. Let's see.
A couple of years ago, I get a call from John Sneed, and he needs an observer to go out with one of the anglers in his tournament. I get down to the ramp, and I find out it's Dean Cruiser, and it was a springtime tournament, so it was bed fishing kind of conditions. And to this day, it was one of the most memorable days I had on the water. I remember every fish that we caught, and a lot of guys, you want to sit in the back of the boat, not say anything, and be as quiet, and don't move around. And Dean's like, oh, my, come up here and look at this fish. Hurry up, come look at this fish. So just a great day on the water and a great angler.
I appreciate that, Jim. Thank you. I had a good time with you as well.
And you had to be an observer?
No. I was fishing. Jim was along with because there's a
Okay.
lot of accusations that fly around at certain times. So I actually asked John if I could have an observer if he knew. So because it was bed fishing time, and a lot of people are accused of foul hooking fish and then bringing them to the scale. So I wanted someone that didn't know me along in the boat with me to, if I did catch anything, that they could verify it.
Now, how much did you have to pay for that?
I think it only cost $1 after the day was over, Ron.
All right. Before we all get in trouble, what's the news on the Mother Lake?
Hey, good fishing conditions still up at Roosevelt in spite of the storms. Bass don't have to move a lot this time of year because the water keeps getting colder. We're not even into the 60s anymore. I mean, we're going from mid-50s to high 50s, and if it's a cloudy day or the wind's blowing, it's going to stay more in the mid-50s. What guys are telling me is if the water does warm up and the sun comes out in the afternoon, you want to hit the backs of the shallow coves. And there's still bass chasing shad in the backs of those coves, and crankbaits are pretty successful. And and spinner baits and some others that are kind of reaction kind of baits in the back. But during the morning time, guys are still fishing deeper. I mean, crippled herrings, big spoons, Carolina rigs, those type of deeper fishing baits are what guys are using mostly in the mornings now. And as far as the lake goes, we're still at 41% full. That hasn't changed. And the salt and the tonneau still are flowing pretty good. The salt is above its normal rate for this time of year. The tonneau is slightly below its normal rate for this time
I'm telling
of year.
you, we need to get a longer dipstick. That 41 has been hanging on there, and we keep getting more water. Where in the hell's the water going?
Well, unfortunately, they take it out at times, too. But, yeah, you're right. It has been hanging right around 41. As I look at the increase each day, it's usually in the hundreds of acre feet rather than thousands of acre feet. So that's part of the problem. But we are, the more storms we get up north, the more snow we get up on the rim, that's what I watch more of an indicator this time of year than I do the actual water level.
Yeah,
Because I know
snowpack. Yep.
that water is going to get down to the lake eventually. So that's what I'm kind of keying on. Hey, talked to a couple crappie anglers last week.
Well, hold on. I've got a couple of questions on the bass report. I mean, you've mentioned every technique on the planet with the exception of dragging worms. Ron, can you help us out with that?
Well, I haven't been on Roosevelt in a while, but Apache Lake is still producing some nice fish, and the 6, 5, and the 4 that I caught came from 12 foot of water. There's only one person handling that rod. It's not like, Vic and I are joined at the hip. We both, I'm holding the rod and he's cranking.
I didn't know Victor didn't have the boat in position for you to cast at that little tiny piece of structure you were talking about. He could have very well had that boat another 30 feet out.
James, I'm sorry. We're having a family
James.
disturbance here.
Go ahead, James. Don't just ignore us.
Hey, all that sounds good. And, you're right, Don. I would say that, if you're fishing deeper fish, the guys are telling me that a slower technique, the colder that water gets, the more you need to slow down. So I wouldn't doubt that, worms as well as the plastic jigs or crawfish imitation baits are going to be working in there too.
All righty then. Okay, back on the crappie stuff.
Yeah. Hit and miss on crappie. This is the second week in a row now and I probably talked to 3 to 4 crappie anglers each week, and 2 or 3 of them will say that they found a school of crappie or found a place where they are, and they're able to move down the shore to find identical places, and they'll pick up, 10, 12 crappies in a morning of fishing out there. And then I'll call another guy, and he'll say that he searched all over and never did find a school.
Now, are these guys, are they doing catch and release or catch and cook for the most part?
No, this is catch and cook for crappie.
All right.
There's not too many guys going to release crappie.
Well, I know, but, the guys that are going to the round table anglers meeting, we're, trying to turn the bulb on that, we can't sustain a major population if 9 out of 10 fish that are caught go to the frying pan. Right.
Yeah, that's, and especially, a few years ago when guys were catching big numbers, 12 at a time is not a spectacular day even for crappie fishermen. But, it's one of those things where we're just going to have to wait and see the impact that the gizzard shad have had on crappie. We all have a gut feeling that it's pretty significant. And you're right, if there were more guys that were catch and release on crappie, probably more would be in there. But hopefully either we can restock the crappie at some point, and that was one of the recommendations that came out of the round table, or we can hopefully minimize the impact on them with more structure and more habitat and things like that in the lake.
Well, with all due respect, you just hit a hot button, the term wait and see. That's what Larry Riley and Kirk Young said. We've waited, now we've seen, and we've got a very, very devastated lake on the effect of these gizzard shad. Just saying.
Right.
Just saying.
Yeah, not arguing that a bit. I understand where we are. I think we've, for everything that we had in front of us, trying to get some improvement at Roosevelt, I think we're taking the first steps to get there. This didn't happen overnight either. And, eventually we'll get around to the crappie, and I hope that the restocking idea that Chief Cantrell brought up is the way to go. I think that would be the fastest way to recover the crappie at Roosevelt.
Well, also, we, in and amongst us during the break here, we're talking about habitat projects. That's one of the things we need that I think is crucial, that we need the most. We need the fish, but in order to take care of the fish, we need habitat. So it's kind of the chicken and the egg thing. Which comes first? You put the fish in there that don't have habitat, or do you wait and put the habitat in and then go get the fish? It's a puzzle.
It is. It absolutely is. And, that's where I was saying, if you want to say the wait and see, that's what it's going to take time to get the habitat in there, to do some more surveys. We're not very accurate. Game and Fish, is not very accurate at doing studies on crappie right now. So we have to improve the process. We have to improve the habitat and the fish. So there's a lot of work in the crappie area.
And stop the overreach.
Yeah, and stop the overreach. I agree with you.
Well, I think come January 5th, we're going to see a whole new posture. I hope Doug Ducey comes out swinging as new governor with a backup of Mark Brunovich on some of the issues that we have, and slapping the hands that belong to the government groups that are overreaching needs to happen right out of the chute.
I agree.
Anyway, what's the weather temp up there real quick?
Hey, we're down in the mid-20s in the morning. It's just beautiful, crisp morning up here, and you just can't beat it. Sun shining, and just love it here. Before we run, let me tell everybody that we appreciate all the support last year at Rim Country Custom Rods. We wish everybody a Happy New Year. Be safe out there. And,
Absolutely.
2015.
All right. Same to you guys up there. God bless you, Jim. You do an awful lot for the fishing community. I'm Don
Thank you.
McDowell. We're going to flip into a break. We'll be back. Close this thing up.
Have a good New Year.
Bye, Jim.
When the ocean runs dry.
All righty, we're back. Hey, I want to thank both of you guys for coming down, and Dean, you especially, for going all the way out of your way to go to East Mesa to pick up Ron to bring him down here.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
Where's my check? I thought I was getting paid for being on here.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Get in line.
It's in the mail, I suppose.
No, don't worry about that. It's not there.
No, we don't send checks.
It's only in the mind then, huh?
It is. Yeah, congratulations on your victory yesterday.
It was a team victory.
Really?
Yes.
Fishing him.
Yeah, you and the fish.
Yeah, it took me and the fish.
Absolutely.
Saw that one coming way
Superb.
down the road.
Dean, what circuits are you fishing this year?
Anything.
Everything.
Yeah,
Anything,
pretty much everything.
yeah.
Any Saturday, it's Saturday, Sunday, I'm there.
And yourself?
Fishing pretty much the Monterey seniors, and then I'll hit something here and there. One thing I wanted to point, I know there's a tournament coming up on Apache next weekend. I don't know what the water temperature was at Apache.
It was cold.
It was warmer than what the air was. It was 28 degrees when we started out.
Man.
And I caught
Hi.
all right, let me go. We caught that. I guess Vic and I both had our hands on the rod. I don't know, but anyway, we caught the 6 and the 5 within the first 30 minutes of the tournament. So,
Well, that makes for a long day, doesn't it, Dean? Just waiting for wave.
12 foot of water. That's what I wanted to express. Not deep. 12 foot of water.
He's sharing a little bit earlier. He wouldn't tell anything. Now all of a sudden, but I think I covered the 12 foot of water for you
Waterboarding
earlier.
has that effect.
Well, that's because you mentioned it. But yeah, on a soft plastic, I won't give the name brand, but it's soft plastic.
Yamamoto.
Texas.
Yeah.
Texas rig.
Had something to do with Pearl Harbor, I don't know.
And the most important thing was a peg, having your sinker pegged up against the hook. And when you do that, it's pretty much necessary that you tie a snell knot.
What kind of hook were you using?
I won't say.
Trail car.
Man. He's tough.
You guys are
Dave.
thank God hunters aren't that bad.
Right here is the epitome of sharing tournament information.
Bull.
He thinks that I can go to that spot today and catch those fish that he caught that Victor had a hand in.
Well, the fact remains that Victor couldn't, so why would I think that you could?
Oh my God!
Ooh.
Don,
Wow.
Excuse me. Check that. You've just been ripped. Right there.
I'll get a hold of our webmaster, Doug.
There's a big difference between sword fighting and
Let's just say
fencing.
we're going to upgrade your photograph on the website.
Photoshop does wonders, doesn't it?
Yeah, and if you don't have our Shake, Rattle, and Troll newsletter, you can go to the website on the home page, click a button, sign up for all the information.
I can believe that my picture would need to be photoshopped.
Oh, it will be. We guarantee it. You ever see an old guy with a bass mouth?
I don't know. I'm thinking kind of a background check. What do you think, Dean?
Something needs to be done.
Yeah,
I'm almost
dude.
speechless, and that does not happen too often.
No, it doesn't.
You gotta love your friends.
You're amongst them right here.
You use that term loosely.
Where are they hiding behind that door or what?
There's guys in here that would, I'm not going to say would we take a bullet for him?
No.
Only if it was golden.
Never. Never.
Sounds like you're on your own, bub.
I feel
Well, I
the
think
love.
when he gets up to Tano Basin next tournament, when he's going to stay at Vic and Deb's house, he might be in the garage or in that truck you drive.
Well, they built a little carport out.
I
for
don't
me,
know if you're even going to get that.
And the dogs love me.
Something about ham bones.
What can you say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, seriously, you can check out the SRT website, ShakeRattleAndTroll.com. There's a newsletter does an outstanding job. In fact, I think the HPC project coordination stuff is on there.
It's really good stuff to go to sleep by at night, I guarantee you.
I'm really looking forward to this afternoon. That's the thing. We're spending upwards of 20 hours a week working on conservation stuff.
And thank you guys for doing that, because it's just us, like myself, whether you can give $1, $5, $20, $100, $1,000, depending what your pocket can afford. It's real important for us as sportsmen to donate, because people like Don and John here are putting everything they have into it. I mean, if you've seen this binder here in front of me, it's just overwhelming to see what he has to go through before anything is even talked about.
Well said.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll second that.
Do you hear something? I hear music. There must be music in the background.
It's Christmas. It's the angels.
This guy lies worse than anybody I know.
He's from Texas.
I know.
What do you expect?
I expect every word that comes out of his mouth to be filtered. That's just the way it is.
One thing we didn't talk about was his girlfriend, Susie. You remember Susie?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Ron was absolutely devastated. She ran off with the garbage man, and I just really left him in a lurch.
So she upgraded?
She had a pet goat. Or was that a sheep?
I don't know.
There's the old joke. Okay. I don't know.
Yeah. I'd like to see tournaments get back to, let's say a decade ago. John, it was a rip.
Used to be a lot of fun.
Back in the day, you had, and Dean can attest to this, you had to do a complete walk around on your truck and your boat to make sure there wasn't things hanging off or stuck on.
The sophomoric enterprises at work.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. Your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Great friends. Make sure everything's fine for you.
Yeah. Well, one of our, I need to thank Dennis in public for his service in the Marine Corps, but on the other hand, whining and crying just because he drove, I think, 165 miles with a pair of pantyhose hanging on his motor. He was extremely upset. Randy McElrath, and you don't know Randy, but you'd have to butter his ass to get him through that door right there. Just a big old boy. He was always in such a great mood, wasn't he?
Yeah, and it's solid muscle. There's no ounce of fat on him.
Yeah. Randy gave the guy sitting in this room we're talking to, not to pick on Dennis Curry because he was upset.
Oh, boy.
Dennis is a good guy, though.
Yeah, he is, but doesn't have much of a sense of humor.
No.
So that's why hunters don't do this, because somebody's going to get shot. Fishermen, you want to gouge somebody with a hook? Okay, go for it.
Oh, you say that. Oh, listen to that. Oh. He obviously hasn't had a DD-22 hanging out of himself.
Details.
Smacked upside the head with a 1 ounce jig or.
Oh, man.
Well, yeah, we had some good times back in the day. Now people just take it too serious.
It's very serious. Unfortunately, I've watched some of the TV episodes of the Bassmasters Classics, the weigh-ins and all that, and I go, that's a big business.
You need to watch the
week
leading up to that.
No.
What you're seeing is the fluff.
I understand. I'm just saying that it is so politicized.
They're sleeping in the boat, sleeping in the back of the truck, break this, break that, wake up and wonder what in the hell state I'm in today.
I admire the devotion that you people have for that.
Yeah, it is.
Your kind of folk.
All righty, we've got to go to work, and again, thank you guys for coming down, and good luck on the water.
Very welcome, Don. Thank you.
And you will see both of us gunning for you.
Well, I'll be looking forward to the next tournament.
I think, what do I have to give you at the next one? Usually I give Ron a 3 to 5 pound advantage before we even start.
Oh, really?
What do you want in Bartlett?
Ooh, plus 3.
Whoa.
No, man, we're going heads up.
He was on a totally different lake. He was on Saguaro and I was on Bartlett.
Bickering does not ever stop, does it?
All righty, hey, I'm Don McDowell.
Special K.
Ron Kirsten.
Dean Cruiser sitting next to I.
Yeah. Take your kicks, hug your bass boat.